Hello everyone and welcome to chapter 184 of The Last Thoughts of a Busy Mind. This one titled Pygmalion. Now, sorry if I sound a little bit different. I am using the old microphone again because, and this is more important, I am not sitting upright. I am still coughing like crazy. I have good days and bad days, but the last 2 days when I planned on recording have been very bad days. And so, in order to stop the show becoming like last week, which is a myriad of coughing fits, I've decided to record this one lying down because when I lie down, I seem to cough less. It still will happen, but what can I do? My drink today is some Fanta, orange soda. I can't drink any because, as I said, I'm lying down, but I did have some before I lay down. And the reason this one is titled Pygmalion is because I want to do another project episode. And for those of you who are new to the show, first of all, weird point to jump in, folks. But I used to have these episodes where I talked about projects that I wanted to do and just lofty goals. There is one, I have an idea for a Man of La Mancha remake, and I don't even remember which episode was that. I had an idea for a video game that I made an episode from. And this one is going to be about board games. Now, I'm not going to talk about what I did through the week because I did less than I thought. I spent most of it just sleeping. New season, spring is upon us, and I am very sleepy. And because of the coughs, I couldn't record anything. But I did meet with my friends, and we played a lot of board games. A lot. And that question kind of stuck with me. Why board games? Wait, I didn't tell you the question. The question is, why board games? And that kind of stuck with me, That kind of stood there. Why board games? To be honest, I have had friends who have told me, well, when video games exist, why do you need board games? And I'm not going to say that's valid, but that is kind of valid, Video games are much more complex. They have much more processing power. Sorry about the cough. And they seem to be stronger and much more immersive than a board game, by which when you, set up a board game, your immersion has a limit than a video game. And in terms of some games, like, Risk, which I hate, the element of surprise that is usually, the element of chance, sorry, not surprise, the element of chance that is usually hidden in video games is brought to the forefront in terms of dice rolls. So, there is a limit to how immersed you can get into a world of a board game. So why board games? And the answer is, the reason I think, despite video games being a thing for decades, board games are still going strong. And the reason for that is that low level of immersion can actually be a good thing at some points because you are dealing more with the mechanics of the game through the theme. Okay, I just said a lot of things that I need to explain. First of all, you don't get fully immersed because at the end of the day you are playing with tokens and cardboards and keeping a hold of things that in a video game the computer does that for you, the system does that for you. The reason that is low immersion is because, in real life you may not actually hold true to all of them. You may not have as much of a mind on how much money you have until it's at the end of the restaurant date and you need to pay. But here's the thing about board games. In a video game, that's a mistake. You cannot overspend. In a board game, you can, and then you realize, oh, I've made a mistake. And that makes you more acute of the mechanics. For example, I'm literally looking at it right now. This week, we played Crusader Thy Will Be Done by Seth Jaffe. Great game, highly recommended, I loved it. But it's a game that is, aside from the theme, and I will get to the theme very shortly, it's a very mechanically simple game. It's simple but not easy. You have to plan ahead on what you want to do, and you need to keep that in mind. You might make a mistake. It's very possible to make a mistake. But at the same time, you're more aware of what you're doing. Like, I can explain the rules of this game much more easily because I've grappled with the mechanics and I understand them. In a video game, you're more focused on the actions. In a board game, you're more focused on the mechanic. You might try to game the system more in a board game because, well, you know the mechanics. In a video game, you have an easier time getting immersed. In a board game, you know you're playing a game, but then the theme comes in. I hope I'm making sense. Usually when I want to make like these explanatory things, I write in a script because then I can hone my arguments, because English isn't my first language. So I hope I can explain what I actually mean. Now, Crusaders Thy Will Be Done is actually an interesting thing to talk about because there are a ton of games dealing with the Crusaders and just crusades. And this is where theming comes through. In a lot of board games, for example, in the Crusaders, you get to feel like an actual Crusader or a Knight Order because you're playing with the mechanics through the theme. Like, I get to pick my knight and move it ahead into the direction of the enemy. And I'm doing so using the mechanics provided to me. And then the immersion isn't the same as, oh, I'm a character to the crusade. I'm a commander to the crusade. I'm a Knight Order. And it's a game. It's a massive game that I'm playing. And I know what I need to do using the mechanics and the limitations of the game. That's why I think board games are still relevant, and maybe in some points even in some areas better than some video games. I know it's a arbitrary battle, I've put them next to each other and then I'm defending one against the other, but the reason I'm doing that is because it's been done by someone and I'm trying to defend it in a forum that I'm sure he's not even gonna listen to it. But for some reason I had to do it, and yeah, I hope I could understand what I meant. In a board game, the actions aren't as important as the overall mechanics. You know everything going in, which is why it's different than a TTRPG. That's a whole other thing. You know everything about the board game going in. Everything you can do is the same as everything your opponents can do in most games. I know asymmetrical games exist, but then even you know what they can do. You go in knowing everything, and then you have to use the themes of the game to immerse yourself. You fool yourself a little bit more with a board game than with a video game. Basically, I think that's the whole point. Anyways, now let me talk about Pygmalion. I had this idea last year. I wanted to do it in 2024, but as we all know, 2024 was the year when the world decided to fucking go crazy, including mine, and I didn't do anything that I wanted to actually do. And then 2025 started pretty shitty as well, but I mean, I'm still hopeful. Maybe it will get better. I don't know. But I had the idea the generalized idea. And then in the holidays of 1404, I decided to explain it a little bit more and try to actually work on it. So the general idea is this. The players will play one of the 4 tyrants. Now, tyrants are Greek heroes who have become tyrants because they are mad that the gods granted Pygmalion his creation without him showing extraordinary action like they had to do. And the 4 heroes are Perseus, Hercules, Theseus, and Jason. And the idea is that they are now tyrants trying to find Pygmalion and kill him, but at the same time want to rule over Greeks. So they are virtually the same. This is not an asymmetrical game. Like, they all have the same starting stats, which is 0, and what they can all do is the same. Like, the difference isn't there. The main mechanic of the game, as far as I can explain, is organizing powers. Basically trying to get as much powers and stats as you can, and trying to min-max the game, basically. And creating a strategy through them. So in each turn, a tyrant can do 2 actions out of a possible 4. Either they can build a building, they have 3 building cards in their hand, and they can lay 1 down as an action. And they have a limit. For each big city under their influence, they can place 3 buildings. For each a small city, they can place 1. But there are god powers and hero powers, we will get to those, hopefully, that will add to this limit. But there is a building limit. So that is action 1. The second action is traveling. They can either move from a region to another region, or if there are cities with a port, which have an anchor symbol on them, they can use those to get to the water and travel the sea to the next island, where there is a big city and a small city and all of that. So that is action 2. And the third action is dealing with a hero. When the tyrants start the game, they have a hero. Basically, the heroes of Greece are not going to let the tyrants do what they want. And the tyrants need to deal with these heroes. And how that happens is, when they enter a big city, they have to draw a card, a hero card. Now, the hero has a number of stats on it and a passive power. Now, they can deal with the hero in 2 ways. Either one, they can ally with it, and for that, the stats of the tyrant need to match or exceed the stats of the hero. Or they can challenge the hero and defeat him or her, because there are actually a few female heroes. And the idea there is the stats of the tyrants need to exceed the stats of the hero, not match, exceed. And then there is a weapons card that will be drawn, and the effects of that are done. And if still the tyrant exceeds the stats of the hero is defeated. The hero is removed from the game, and there is a number of drachmas, which is the gold in the game, that will be given to the tyrant. If the tyrant is allied with the hero joins the tyrant, and the tyrant can use the passive power of the hero. For example, Daedalus is one of the heroes, and in that case, Daedalus will give +1 to the building limit of the hero. Now, the hero can only have up to 2 heroes to deal with, so they can't just go and, draw more cards. No, 2 at most, and they have to deal with them before going forward. And the Fourth action is influencing a city. Yeah, that was the third one. Influencing a city is each city has a number of stats next to it, and if the hero exceeds one of the stats on a small city, they can gain an influence over that, and if they exceed 2 stats on a big city, they gain influence over that as well, and that just becomes theirs. And the game ends when the hero card that is drawn for a big city is Pygmalion. And in that case, one last round is done by every hero. Pygmalion is obviously killed, and the game ends, and the person with the most victory points is the winner. And that we will get to. Now, there are a few things that I need to explain. Some buildings have passive powers. Great. Each building has a stat that will add up. There is an infamous stat, I'm not even going to get to it. And some cities have a shrine on them. Because heroes have become tyrants, gods are in disarray, and nobody really knows which god holds favor over which shrine anymore. So, if a tyrant gains influence over a city with a shrine symbol on it, they will draw a god card. Basically, it gives you a passive power and an active power. The active power can be used once, and the passive power can be used multiple times. For example, Zeus gives 2+2 building limits, because, he's the great administrator. Hades, why am I doing Hades? That one requires me to explain some more mechanics. For example, Poseidon lets you move 2 zones in the sea per turn, and Hermes will give you that but in land. Easy stuff like that. And some heroes have passive powers, some buildings have passive powers, and the idea is to use these powers to basically create a strategy. Now, I don't know. There is a lot I need to do, but mostly I'm writing all of these down and trying to create at least a playable version on paper, meaning I literally want to have a few printed pieces of paper with all of the rules on them and draw with like a pencil and a paper a map and have 3 other people and we playtest it to see if the concept works, because in my head it does, but that's the problem. In my head it does. It might not work if I bring it out onto a physical space. So I want to try and play it with my friends and see how it goes. Maybe it goes well. Who knows? And then if it does actually go well, then I will refine it more, playtest it, troubleshoot it, and then design the cards, design the map, design everything. But first, I just want to, by the end of the holiday, which is I have another week, to have something to work with, if you know what I mean. I don't know. Maybe it's too much to ask of myself in my current, because I have 0 experience designing a board game, and maybe I should just go and learn what to do. But at the same time, I am excited. I just want to. I've played a lot of board games, and I know it's very stupid to think, oh, I've played a lot, I can probably make one. But genuinely, I just want to try. I want to make something in this space that I love and see how it will go. So, if I do, I will definitely tell you. And if you want to hear that, it's my call to action. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you're on YouTube, if you're on any other podcast listening app, don't forget to follow me there as well and check the next episodes. Maybe by then I have a working prototype. Who knows? Only gods know. Poseidon and Hades. And I don't know what I'm saying. It was a very weird experience to record this one while laying down, and I will see you all, hopefully coughless, next week.